O'clock, so I'll go ahead and the town council meeting of Monday, February 13th, 2023 started. And the opening of the meeting starts with the invocation and the pledge.
All right, let us pray. Dear Lord, we thank you for this unusual but still beautiful weather that you've given us. And Father, we just ask that you please continue to lift those up in need, those who may be ill. And Father, we just ask that you allow us to continue to make the best decisions for our wonderful town. And all these things we pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Heather, you want to lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. We do have two public hearings, one at 4:15 and one at 4:30, so let's go ahead and get started. And should have received a copy of the minutes from last month. Any comments, questions, corrections?
I move to approve the January 9th, 2023 minutes as presented.
I'll second.
Okay, motion and second. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much. And Angie, move on to your treasurer's report, please.
Yes, thank you. We're gonna, this is Carl Hogan from BBB, and he's gonna go ahead and do the audit report first.
Okay.
Thank you.
Do I need to stand over here? Can I stand? You can stand where you can. Okay, good. I was saying my eyesight's getting bad, so just in case, you know. So I have a presentation. Good presentation for the 2022 financial statements. I know we're a little bit later than we typically are, but at the end of the day, we're here. The results of the audit are good. All the reports have been filed with the state, and the game plan is to get on a more normal schedule than we were this year to get back to where we were in the October-November time frame for next year. Now that we have the transition with the new treasurer, et cetera. So I think we're in a good spot. We're going to start early now for this upcoming audit to make sure we're in a better position for next year. But at the end of the day, when we see the results of the audit and where you stand financially, I think everybody should be pretty pleased and pretty consistent with what's being reported on a monthly basis. So that being said, I'm going to start with the first 3 pages of the audit report, the independent auditor's report. This is a brand new auditor's report this year. They changed the format. It was a new auditing standard that was put in place. But the most important thing that they changed with the audit report is they put the opinion paragraph right at the top, as you can see. It used to be buried within the audit report. They also added about a half a page to the audit report, but the basics of the independent auditor report are the same. So the most important thing, like I said, is that first paragraph basically stating that the numbers in the audit report are fairly presented for the year ended June 30th, 2022. The information otherwise in here is the same. It's a little bit expanded. It kind of outlines management's responsibilities, our responsibilities, what responsibilities were taken for the different sections of the audit report. But ultimately, we want to focus on that opinion paragraph, saying that the numbers are fairly presented. It's a limited time. So the first thing I'm going to start with is the budget to actual report, which is actually in the back of the audit report. And I think I've stated this in the past. It's in the back of the audit report because we're not giving an opinion on your budget numbers. We're only giving an opinion on your actual numbers. So
I'm sorry. The presentation is in the order he's talking about. So if you
okay,
just
thank you.
yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Okay. Yeah. So the first couple pages is just the first 4 pages are the budget to actual. The first 2 pages are your revenue section, and the second 2 pages are related to your expenditures. And I'll give you a quick synopsis. So as you can see with your revenues, what you're going to notice there is with the income tax revenue, just in previous years, you've conservatively budgeted your income tax revenue. It's coming in better than anticipated, and during the current year, your income tax revenue came in over $165,000 better than budget. But I think I've stated this in the past. These are the type of revenues that you can't get too aggressive on because, if you get too aggressive, it might flip back the other way in terms of that. So I think this is just a good windfall in terms of what I'm seeing, not only in the municipalities of Maryland, but also in Pennsylvania. Anything related to earned income taxes have been better than anticipated. So as you can see on the right-hand column there, you know what you're going to get with your property taxes and your other revenues. So the biggest variance we're seeing there is related to the income tax revenue being better than anticipated by $165,000. But then if we take all those other positive revenues on the right-hand side, you can see that your total revenues, in addition to that $165,000, there was about $100,000 of other revenues that were better than budget. So at the end of the day, you budgeted to use $250,000 of fund balance to balance your budget, but you didn't have to use that fund balance because your revenues came in better than anticipated for the year ended June 30th, 2022. So then when we come to the expenditures, same story as the previous year. There were a lot of expenditures that were budgeted that just didn't, happen in terms of you had intentions to do capital projects, you had intentions to do maintenance projects, and just because of the timing of those projects, they didn't get done, and it resulted in expenditures that were less than budgeted. So what we did as part of this audit report, and we'll show this on one of the other slides, is we took those expenditures and we kind of rolled them forward into the next year because they're one-time maintenance and capital expenditures. They've already been budgeted, and they'll roll forward to the next year, and they're already built into the fund balance and what was already appropriated in previous years. So just like, just for example, total general government, there's capital outlay, there was expenditures that were budgeted, about $28,000, only $3,000 got spent. And if there was something that had a purchase requisition or a purchase order, we just rolled that forward to the next year to be paid out of, current year accumulated earnings. So overall, your total expenditures and other financing uses, we look down there at the bottom, the corner there, it was about $200,000 also of like various, mostly, there were some ups, there were some downs, but mostly when you look at the detail of everything, most of it had to do with projects or capital projects that just didn't happen because they're like one-time expenditures, and it's hard to work out the timing on that sometimes. So any questions, concerns? No? And pretty consistent with the previous year as well. But when you look at those items that you can control, like salaries, benefits, those kind of came right in line. The next page here I have is the same information I just showed you on the previous page. So it's taking those revenues and it's taking those expenditures, and you're showing the excess of the revenues over the expenditures and the transfers out over to the capital projects fund. So overall, the fund balances of the town for the year ended June 30th, 2022 increased by almost $250,000. So at the beginning of the year, you had about $1.6 million of fund balance. You added $250,000, and you have about $1.8 million of fund balance at year end. And you can see the transfers in, transferred out. So you have capital projects. So in previous years, because of COVID and so forth, a lot of the capital projects didn't get off, get off the floor. So during the current year, you're going to see a lot of activity in the capital projects funds. During the current year, we had the preliminary stages of the wastewater treatment plant project related to engineering. We had a lot of projects down at the wharf related to redecking and the roof, and also the L-Town Alley project is also getting and is captured in that $400,000. So as these projects keep on going, I expect those expenditures to increase. And the town's portion of those projects is that $295,000 during the current year. And the things that are offset by the grants is the intergovernmental revenue up at the top, the $150,000. This is your balance sheet as of June 30th, 2022. Basically, the balance sheet is your assets, your current assets over your current liabilities being your fund balance. As you can see, during the year, your assets were $6.8 million, liabilities $5 million, and there's that excess of the assets over the liabilities being $1.8 million. And of that $1.8 million, it's segregated into various categories: restricted, assigned, and unassigned. And we'll kind of go over what they are on the next slide. What's been restricted by law, what's been assigned related to those carryover purchases we just talked about before, and then the unassigned amount is what is available to be used or appropriated in the future. And the town's fund balance policy is to about have 50% of next year's expenditures in the unassigned fund balance, which that approximates year over year. So the next page I have here is the breakout of the fund balance. This is a little bit more activity going on here just because of all the projects going on. So at the end of the year, the fund balance, that restricted or that assigned amount we were just talking about, that $481,000, we have $250,000 that was appropriated in your 23 budget to balance the budget, about $240,000. There was also an amount that was done with the budget amendment and rolled forward for the wharf decking that didn't get completed by June 30th. And then we have the L-Town Alley project. There was about $120,000 of town money that was going to go for that project, and there was, about $35,000 that still needed to be spent related to that project. And then there's some other amounts that were assigned in previous years that haven't been spent. And then finally, the biggest thing is there's those encumbrances I was talking about. There was about $100,000 of projects that had purchase orders that didn't get spent before year end, and that's why the expenditures. So what I did is I segregated that within your fund balance to kind of segregate that and say, hey, this money's already spent, if it's just the timing of when it was actually done. Also, one of the other major funds that we discussed during the audit is your enterprise fund. So this is made up of your wastewater, your water, and your refuse collections. The number that we want to focus on here is your operating income before depreciation, and that's that about $277,000. So a combination, you had a positive net operating income before depreciation, and then depreciation is just a function of amortizing the cost of capital assets over future periods. So I would expect that as you do more capital projects, you place the wastewater treatment plant renovations, you're going to see that number increase. But in terms of a council and management, what we want to focus on is that operating income and that positive number there of the $300,000. In addition, you want to look at the capital contributions. Those capital contributions are those monies that are being used to fund in part the wastewater treatment plant. And that was the impact fees of almost $1 million and the capacity allocation fees of $200,000 down there at the bottom. So a total of 1.2. A little bit less than in previous years, but in general, they've been strong, related to new construction within the town. So here's that $277,000 we just spoke about, broke out by segment. So you have your wastewater treatment plant and the collection system. You kind of have to look at those in total. So as you can see, you have the $368,000 related to the wastewater treatment plant. You net that against the collection system. We don't necessarily allocate the revenues related to the collection system. We want to capture those expenditures because they're two different functions within the wastewater treatment function. So if you look at the total of those two, you have about most of the positive variances related to the tune of $220,000. Then you have the water fund with the $70,000 increase in its net position, and then the refuse collection. That's all contracted services. So you know what you need to bill and collect from your customers to pay those contracted services right from the trash from the third party that collects the trash. So typically we're seeing pretty close to zero net income related to the refuse collection year over year. And here is the balance sheet related to the enterprise fund. As you can see, another healthy balance sheet in terms of your current assets over your current liabilities. You have an excess of your current assets over your current liabilities of about $3 million. You have restricted cash and cash equivalents. This is the impact fees and the capacity allocation fees that have been collected that will be used to offset a portion of the wastewater treatment plant. So at the year end, you had $9.3 million in those funds. And then you have your long-term debt down below related to the ENR loan that was taken out a couple years ago. And that's just being paid off as you go, and that's kind of built into your annual budget. So at the end of the day, your net position is a positive $35 million. We want to strip out the net investment in capital assets. That's just all your capital assets net of accumulated depreciation. The number we want to focus on is that $3.3 million of unrestricted net assets, and those are the monies available to balance future budgets and available for future operating expenses if needed, et cetera, to be appropriated accordingly. And then there's those restricted impact fees, which are for future capital contributions and kind of built into the construction fees. So hopefully I was quick enough. Does anybody have any questions, concerns? Like I said, the town is in a nice spot in terms of financial position, and I know that's communicated to you on a monthly basis.
But, you didn't see any problems at all with the, during the audit?
No, there's no issues in terms of the processes and stuff like that. I think just in terms of the transition of treasurers and so forth like that, and it was a learning process, and there's nothing
Sure.
wrong. So.
Okay. Any other questions, comments from Carl? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. You have anything else, Angie, or is that
That's all I had, just the reports.
okay?
But I snuck in at the last second.
Okay.
Unless
Thank you.
anybody has any questions for me?
Okay. I have 4:16. So you want to move to the first public hearing?
Yes, please.
So I'll entertain a motion to close the regular meeting, open a public hearing for ordinance number 214, infrastructure bonds for wastewater treatment plant expansion.
All right, I move to close the regular meeting and open the public hearing.
I'll second.
Motion and second, and all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Yep.
This is for ordinance number 214, infrastructure bonds for wastewater treatment plant expansion. This ordinance was introduced at the January 9th, 2023 meeting. The public hearing was advertised in the County Times and, on January 26th, and also posted on the town website. A public hearing is scheduled for right now. Following the public hearing, the town council can vote to pass the ordinance, or if there's any, or delay it. The ordinance authorizes the sale of up to $9 million of 2023 Series A infrastructure bonds through a joint sale with the Community Development Administration of the Department of Housing and Community Development. The maximum interest cost would be at a rate not to exceed 5.75% for a loan with a 20-year maturity. This ordinance and the procedure has been prepared by by Funk and Bolton Bond Counsel Lindsay Rader, and I have to supply all of this information back to her. It's very meticulous about how the state requires it. So the ordinance spells out, that we are expanding the wastewater treatment plant. We have talked about all of this in previous meetings. Before you actually vote on this, once we reopen the regular meeting, I'll be going over the report that's in your packet right prior to that, which is the debt affordability report that kind of spells out all those numbers again, and everything that we've already gone over, and it's talking about the impact fees and raising the impact fee. So I'll review all that before you actually vote on it as well.
Okay. Did we get any comments, public?
No, there were
comments?
no comments received prior
Okay.
to the meeting.
Does anybody here today have any comments on the wastewater treatment plant? Okay. Then we'll go ahead and entertain a motion to close the public hearing and open the regular meeting.
All right, I move to close the public hearing and reopen the regular scheduled meeting.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
You're welcome to go back to the agenda if you want. We
Yeah,
can
well-
always, that's fine. Might keep things in more order.
Yeah, let's go back to Mike Bailey's report, please. Yes.
Members, the last planning and zoning meeting was held on January 17th, 2023, with one item on the agenda, and it was the final approval for the Dairy Queen to proceed. At this time, the planning commission has no items on the agenda for February 21st, 2023.
Okay. Comments from Mike? Okay. Thank you very much. And everyone should receive the police report. Corporal Rozelle is with us. If anybody has any questions for her. I do like all the crime prevention, going through the neighborhoods, and we much appreciate that.
Did we ever find anything out about the graffiti?
Yes, I have a suspect and he is being charged.
Okay.
We also had an issue at the wharf
Yeah.
today. A number of life rings were missing and a fire extinguisher. So Rachel and Tony have been reviewing the film to see if we have anything on camera, hopefully, for that as well.
Okay. Anything else for Corporal Rozelle? Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. I see you every day. Work from home.
Okay. Go ahead and start with your
All right.
agenda.
So as I mentioned, we had passed an ordinance in 2010, a resolution in 2010, that it was to meet a state mandate for all municipalities that we adopt a debt management policy. And in accordance with that policy, the staff has to provide you with a debt affordability report for each capital project once the council acknowledges the need for the project, projects such as the expansion of the wastewater treatment plant. So in accordance with that requirement, we held the public hearing for ordinance 214, but I wanted to also provide you with this report. I put a copy of the original resolution and then prepared the debt management policy. Well, I gave you a copy of the February 10 resolution and the policy. And then the debt affordability report for the wastewater treatment plant expansion, and I dated it January 23rd. So the town council of the town of Leonardtown is currently negotiating partial financing for the expansion of the wastewater treatment plant from 0.68 million gallons a day to 1 million gallons per day. This project will require the town to incur debt. A potential lender has been identified and is working with staff and Lindsay Rader of Funk and Bolton, who is serving as our bond counsel. We have met with the Department of Housing and Community Development with the Community Development Administration bond sales. I also worked with Maryland Water Quality Administration through MDE to see, to compare the funding. We have used that previously. Unfortunately, I did receive notification that any project that is growth related does not qualify for that financing, so we have to go with the Community Development Administration. And we really felt that was going to give us the best rate anyway, but we did have an obligation to look into that. The CDA loan request is set as at a maximum of $9 million. The total project costs are $18,957,240. And that includes the bid that we received for $15,221,000, and then the engineering fees that we've paid previously during the design process. We have a $590,000 contingency built into that, and then we also have passed the task order with for construction management and inspection of $1,450,000. We'll have some closing costs, and we'll have some. We had the land purchase that we did previously to build the tanks on, so that totals the $18,957,240. What our plan is to borrow a maximum of $9 million, and Angie and I got the application submitted to CDA 30th of January. We intend to use $5,510,000 of impact fees that we have already collected. We also have $3,038,413 of ARPA money that we plan to use, and then the prepaid money that we've already paid for the engineering and design, and that gives you the $18,957,240. I also talk about in this report any other debts, long-term debts that we have. The only other, we have the ENR loan that is with Water Quality. That requires us to collect 29 EDUs per year to cover that debt service. And then we also have the loan that we purchased, the wharf property, which was originally $1,265,000, and it's down to $650,893, and that is from the general fund. So this new loan, I go on to talk about how we are growing, and if we do not do this expansion, we will not have capacity to continue with any projects that we have been working on. We have been the fastest growing municipality from 2010 to 2020. I think we fell to number 2 last year, but we're still grew at like 55%, something like that. I mean, it's just crazy numbers. So we don't anticipate anything changing in the near future. And based on our downtown strategic plan and our comp plan, I think we have been planning to continue to grow and be successful. We also had the ARPA money that came in at this time, and so it is a good time to do a large project like this. We also looked at our impact fee and raised our impact fee back in the fall we will need another 29 EDUs per year to cover this debt service, and that is a number that is very consistent. We have been averaging for the last 5 years at least 70 to 75 a year. So we should be fine in that with this. That would be 58 total that we would need for both those loans. We also have the built-in 2% annual increase in both water and sewer that we passed in 1997. But for the last several years, we really have not, the last 4 budget cycles, we haven't increased either water or sewer. We have been planning for this, so in conclusion, the report just says that it is imperative that for the future of the town that we do move forward with this expansion, and I have tried to show in this report that we certainly anticipate that we will be able to afford it, and it is a good decision. Any questions on that? Okay, then we can move on to the ordinance 214, which is the one we held the public hearing on. Again, we introduced it last month. We've had it out for public review. We have received no comments, and we received none at the public hearing. So we are able to go ahead and pass this. Unlike normal, it's usually 20 days after the hearing that it goes into effect. The way this is written, per the what the state requirements are, once you pass it, it does go into effect immediately. And I have to send this over to our bond counsel tomorrow. I also have to certify all the advertisements that we did, and she'll get the minutes. It's a very very detailed process, let's say. So, but she's wonderful, and she's worked with us a number of years. So she's helping us through that process. So a lot of numbers, a lot of information. Any questions? I know it's not new to any of you. So
they're just waiving the 20 days for us?
no, it doesn't waive.
Okay.
It just depends how the ordinance is written.
Oh.
But our typical ordinance, other than an emergency ordinance, which we actually have one of those next, that which can go into effect immediately. So that's all spelled out in this ordinance, that once you vote on that, then this starts moving forward. Perfect.
Yeah, we'll just comment, we are one of the 2 growth areas of St. Mary's County. If you want to maintain the rural character of the county, you have to allow the growth. And we've got the infrastructure and everything here, so, yep. Any comments, questions?
All right, well, I move to approve ordinance number 214, infrastructure bonds for the wastewater treatment plant expansion.
I'll second. Oh, Mary and I will fight over it.
Okay, motion and a second. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much.
So I guess
Not
it's
quite
4:30?
not quite 4:30 yet, so why don't you go ahead and go to the
Okay.
Next.
Next item would be the liquor license letter of support for Flour Donuts and Bakery. They're asking for a beer and wine license. This will be the bakery located at the Bell Motor, previous Bell Motor site. And Ricky Rice is the applicant. His wife Elise is going to be the holder of the liquor license. They're only asking for a beer and wine license, and as a restaurant, they will be having breads and cheeses, and they wanted to add beer and wine to that license. So they'll be on the agenda for the March agenda for the liquor board, and they're asking for a letter of support.
Okay, comments, questions? I think everyone's looking forward to,
Yeah, a ton of questions about the bakeries. I'm confused. Are there two coming?
Yes.
yes.
Okay, that's fine.
Yep.
Yeah, there's another one in the, where Salted Scoop is going. They'll have, part of it will be a bakery and part of it will be, their focus is on breads. And so they have a little different, this one will have a lot of donuts, and they will have a small selection of breads as well, so.
Okay.
Different menus.
They're actually in Salted Scoop selling things in there now, so. Yeah. Yep.
Good to know.
All right, I move to approve the letter of support for Flour Donuts and Bakery to be located at 22675 Washington Street for a beer and wine license.
I'll second.
Okay, any other comments, questions?
Forward to it.
Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much. Okay, it is after 4:30, so I'd entertain a motion to close the regular hearing and open the public hearing.
Okay, I move to close the regular meeting and open the public hearing.
I'll second.
For the emergency ordinance number 215, so. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Okay, this ordinance is emergency ordinance 215, chapter 60, critical area minor corrections. So this public hearing was also advertised in the January 26, 2023 County Times and posted on the town website. In January of 2021, the town approved a revised critical areas ordinance to bring our ordinance into conformity with the Maryland Annotated Code. At that time, we worked with critical areas staff to ensure that since we were allocated 200 acres of growth allocation from St. Mary's County's allocation, we needed to have rules in place to work with specific projects at that time. We had been working with St. Mary's Nursing Center, who we have representatives here today in case we have any questions. We've been working through that process for a while now. Unfortunately, there were a couple minor changes that the critical areas team didn't pick up on, and so they're asking us to just correct those today. I did discuss it with our attorney, and he feels it certainly qualifies as an emergency ordinance, which means you advertise it, you have your public hearing, but you can vote on it the same day instead of introducing it and waiting a month. And as you can see, there are very minor changes. Unfortunately, the nursing center was on the February Critical Area Commission agenda to get their growth allocation approved that we had allocated to them. However, they removed the critical areas, staff removed it from the public, from that meeting because of these changes. And so as soon as we get these done, hopefully they'll be back on the March agenda. So we'll get through this eventually. So just really quickly, the first change is on page 2. It just kind of is a duplicate. It says the town's original growth allocation acreage is 200 acres, and then it says the town's current growth allocation is remaining is 200 acres. They just want to delete that first line. It's a little bit redundant. And then, so previously we did not have growth allocation rules, and now that we have the 200 acres, as I said, there's a couple places they're adding in on page 3, letter D, except as described in subsection E2 below, a new IDA shall have at least 20 acres. So previously it said that you had to have 20 acres left in an IDA designation. But because this St. Mary's Nursing Center is not going to have 20 acres, we needed to revise the language. And then it goes down below, a new IDA shall be located in an LDA or adjacent to an existing IDA, or a new LDA shall only be located adjacent to an existing LDA or IDA. So this wording was provided to us from the Critical Area Commission to make sure that it was, this project would be conforming to this. And then the last change was on page 4, number 2, subsections D1 and E1 above were added, which are the ones that we just referred to. So as you can see, very, very minor changes.
Did we receive any public comments?
We did not.
Okay, anyone out in the, with us today want to make any comments on this? Okay, hearing none. I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing and open the regular meeting.
All right, I move to close the public hearing in reference to emergency ordinance number 215 and open the regular meeting.
I'll second.
Okay,
Yeah, that's Mayor.
any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much.
Okay, so again, we are able to take action on this today because it is an emergency ordinance and the changes are so minor. We would really like to go ahead and move forward with this, and then I can get it over tomorrow to Critical Areas Commission, and hopefully they have a secretary by then because they were getting a new secretary, and hopefully they'll be able to have their March meeting.
My goodness.
I know.
Are we supposed to sign something also today before?
Yes, I'll pass around the
Okay,
ordinance,
okay.
yes. I'll pass both ordinances at
Okay.
once. Any questions regarding the ordinance?
Okay, anyone care to make a motion?
I can make it.
Okay,
I move to approve emergency ordinance number 215, chapter 60, critical areas to correct minor errors inadvertently enacted by ordinance number 204.
I'll second.
motion and second, further discussion. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much.
Thank you all for being so supportive throughout this process.
Good luck.
Let me get these passed around for you to sign. Okay. The next item is resolution, I'm not missing anything, am I? No. Resolution 1-23, Main Street, Maryland Program Support. As we've talked about, we have a number of processes that we're going through. One of them is to become a Main Street Maryland. And with that, we have to pass this resolution that you are in support to committing to carry out the Main Street Maryland program. Part of that is in hiring a Main Street manager, which we are working on. And so this resolution 1-23 is the resolution of the Commissioners of Leonardtown have made by application a request for the Main Street Maryland designation by the Department of Housing and Community Development of the State of Maryland and support the local administration of the Main Street Maryland program in the town of Leonardtown. The Commissioners recognize that there's a significant need for continued investment and revitalization of this community in the town, and that we've made a commitment to improve the economy, appearance, and image of the traditional downtown business district, and that we will work to strengthen the economic potential of the historic downtown and the neighborhood business district, and that will support the Main Street program. We did receive $10,000 this year as a Main Street affiliate that was to go toward establishing this program, and so we are working on that. Getting the application in. We've sent in a letter of intent already, and then this resolution becomes part of our application package once it's approved. Questions?
Well, Shelley, I think you already said, and I'm sorry, but once this is submitted, how long does it take to get this approved?
Well, we have not submitted the full application yet. We're just going through the check boxes. There's not a deadline on this. So it's not as high of a priority as the arts and entertainment redesignation, which we're going to talk about in a minute. That's due April 1st, along with the application, the normal report that we have to do for arts and entertainment. So that's had the highest priority right now, and we're just, Kathy is working on the Main Street application as we go along. I would anticipate by maybe June, we'd be able to get the application in. I intend to go ahead and advertise for a Main Street manager again, and I'm getting to that as soon as possible, but haven't made it there yet. But because this doesn't have a deadline, I need to focus more on the arts and entertainment right this minute.
And that's also, didn't you say that was a requirement too? We have to have somebody dedicated
Yes.
for part of it,
Yes.
dedicated to
I mean,
this.
as long as we have it advertised, we can go ahead and submit the application. We don't have to have
Okay.
someone in place.
Okay.
But my intention is to try to have someone in place. It's just a matter of getting time to do it. And then we also are working on the, what's the other one? We have the downtown, or the comp plan that we'll be working on as well. And the, I think there's one other one that I can't think, the sustainability designation as well. I think that one's in August, I believe. So, keeping Kathy busy for sure.
And this includes grants from the state for the businesses to
Yes.
do improvements.
Yeah, one of the grants this year, or the last couple years, I think Social, Shepherd's Old Field, Heritage, the Escape Room just got one. And that was, if we would have been a full Main Street, they could have gotten 2 years worth of benefits, but they only got the 1 year, the Project Restore grants, because we were a Main Street affiliate. So that's one that once we get this designation, that type of loan, that type of grant, they would have more benefits. But it also can open up other opportunities for grants outside of that as well.
In here it notes a chief elected executive official, is that who?
Dan will
Is that Dan
design any,
as the
like
mayor?
the application
Gotcha,
and such.
okay.
I think it says, in the next line. that
Yeah, and then it
he's-
says
that
the
he's
mayor.
up- Yeah, he's
Gotcha,
authorized,
okay.
yes.
Any other comments, questions?
All right, well, I move to approve Resolution 1-23 in support of applying for the Main Street, Maryland designation.
I'll second.
Okay, motion second, further discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much.
Okay, next, see, you have plenty of time to get here. Okay, we're requesting a modification to, the Dogwood, you're still calling it Dogwood, right? Subdivision. We approved, a revision to the Academy Hills, PUD on, January 10th of 2022, to allow for 6 single-family homes on the parcel that was at one time right across from Cedar Lane. It was designated as commercial originally in the PUD. So the town council approved the 6 individual lots, but as they've worked through the engineering, there's a lot of steep slopes, and they feel that it would be better to, on lots 3 and 4, build a duplex, which would allow them to stay out of the steeper slopes, and also there'll be more buffer between Academy Hills, and it will allow for more green space. And they did submit an architectural rendering of what they're proposing. So I don't know, do you need to add anything to that? Or? Did you
I
add
appreciate you keeping the buffer, thank you. I live in Academy Hills, so. And then hopefully we can, Lachelle and I talked last week about the stormwater management issues, hopefully we can work together on that.
you know, we've changed some potential areas on the plan, with that as even as I.
Yeah, and it is hilly. Did you know?
Yes. So, in our ordinance, we consider a duplex as multifamily. A lot of jurisdictions don't, they consider it residential. But since we show it as multifamily, because we're changing from 2 individual houses to 1 multifamily, that's why I'm bringing it back to you today to make the revision.
No, I think it's much needed housing that they're doing, so I don't have any problems with the duplex.
I put the
Looks
minutes in
nice.
there so you can
Yeah,
see
that's really nice, yeah.
the history.
Very attractive.
Anyone care to make a motion?
I move to approve a revised concept plan for the Wood subdivision to 4 single-family homes and 1 duplex on lot 3 and 4 from 6 single-family homes approved January 10th, 2022.
I'll second.
Motion and second, further discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much. Good luck.
Okay, and then I just wanted to give you an update on the arts and entertainment redesignation process that we're working through. As I mentioned earlier, April 1st, the applications are due. We were designated in 2013, so it's been 10 years, and we are required to get a new designation. January 26th, we did have a visit and tour from the state committee that will be voting on our application. And they were very impressed. We did pretty much an all-day tour and did a PowerPoint presentation over at the Rex Theater. They had a lot of questions and were very impressed by everything that we've accomplished. Tomorrow, I will be doing the same, a little bit more expanded presentation to the county commissioners at 9:40 because 10 years ago, they voted to support our efforts. And with that, there is a property tax credit, and because our property tax is so low, really having the county also do the credit is more beneficial. We really haven't had anyone utilize that, but I can certainly see in the future that it may be something that is utilized. And basically what that is they get a credit for the increase from the assessed value from prior to making improvements for arts-related benefit housing or storefronts, or even like the theater possibly. The owner of the building could ask for this credit. He has not at this point, but what the assessment is after the improvements. So that difference, you don't pay property tax for 10 years. And back, you can choose a certain percentage of that improvement, and you can choose how many years you want to, up to 10 years that you offer the credit. So back in 2013, we chose 100% of the credit for 10 years, and the county commissioners supported that, so hopefully tomorrow they'll do the same thing again. And then the income tax credit, it's a deduction from sales that were created and sold within the district. So an artist can claim an income tax subtraction. And then the third benefit is the amusement and admissions and amusement tax benefit. And we get a very small admissions and amusement tax. I think it was like $80 or something like that that we just got for the last quarter. But one place that will benefit from that, again, is the Rex Theater could apply for that credit. But that is comes directly to us, so the county commissioners wouldn't have anything with that that would affect their bottom line. So hopefully tomorrow we'll get their support, and then you all will have a public hearing and a resolution at the March meeting for the process, and then the applications are due April 1st, so we're just working through that process. Any questions on it?
You said due April 1st.
Applications due April 1st, yes, but you'll have it on your agenda next month. Okay, the last item on my agenda is Meadows at Town Run Phase 1 Utilities Acceptance into the Town System. So this is just for Phase 1 of Meadows 1. is a little bit confusing. So Meadows 2 is gonna be the Wilkinson Farm, Meadows 1 is the current project. And Meadows 1 only has 2 phases, so they're working in phase 2 right now. We are gonna just take over the water and sewer lines in phase 1 of Meadows Run 1. And then there will be a 2-year maintenance bond on those utilities. And then the roads will be taken over all at once because it was only 2 phases. We are waiting until the whole project is done to take over the roads, so they'll be coming back for that at a later date. Any questions?
Any other comments?
I'm assuming we've not had any issues with anything in there.
No, Tony did all the inspections and everything is good to go on phase 1.
Michelle, remind me too, they're replacing stuff to match, or is that over in Leonard's Grant that they were replacing for like the water sewer? Remember that? To update it so it all
Oh, right,
runs
so
together,
when
but
they
it's not
move
in
forward with
town.
Meadows
Okay.
2, they'll need to upgrade the pump station in Meadows 1
That's what- okay.
because they're adding, all Meadows 2 will be pumping to that new pump station.
Right.
They'll also be making some improvements to Leonard's Grant because it will be pumping against Meadows
Right.
1. So all those will be part of the improvements as Meadows 2 moves forward.
But that's on them,
The developer.
not on us.
Correct,
Okay.
correct. And we have not officially taken over Meadows 1 pump station yet.
Okay.
So we're just gonna wait, I think, because they'll be making those improvements soon.
Okay, thank you.
So we have separate bonds for roads, water, sewer, and stormwater management. I think that's the 3, and the pump station.
Mhm.
So this is just the bond for
The water,
the
sewer.
water, sewer, and that will, and we have separate bonds for each phase as well. And so once we release this bond, then they have a maintenance bond for 2 years.
Oh, okay,
So if anything breaks, they have to fix it.
okay.
Any other comments, questions?
All right, I move to approve acceptance of the Meadows to Town Run, Phase 1, water and sewer into the town system.
I'll second.
There you go. Give it to Chris.
Okay, motion and a second. Any other comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much.
I think that's it.
Okay. Moving on to reports, no one from LBA was here, but they did have a meeting Friday, and it was packed.
Probably 60 people or so,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
So, a lot of new people. Mary actually did a little presentation. You want to mention that?
Oh, just talked about taxes.
Okay. I couldn't stay for it because our granddaughter won an award at Leonardtown Elementary, so I had to be there for that. So, yep, that was very nice. So, that's really all I've got from my report. We'll move on to events. Heather.
The biggest thing is Small Dyer Weekend now. It's moved on from just one day, so, what is that, the 24th through the 26th? Did I say that right? I know that there's gonna be the event at the Rex. They have something going on at Tudor Hall. What is
So
that?
the opening ceremony is at 11 o'clock. We did that last year as well.
All right.
It was really good, and they have some entertainment and things. And then throughout the town, there's the scavenger hunt all day long, and then the cocktails will. That contest is going to be announced at the 11 o'clock ceremony.
Okay.
Who wins the Spirit for Spirits contest? Lots of activities, and a lot of the businesses have activities going on. So if you go to visit Leonardtown website, you can catch up on everything. We do have the trolley running on Saturday from 10 to 10, I guess I would just mention that because we've heard a little bit of kickback about worshiping a witch, and it's not about that. It's about kindness, and that's, we have a heart in the logo. It's about being kind to everyone, and even if you don't understand or you don't agree with them. So I think our message is clear, and we hope that everyone will understand that and just have a good time. And
That's also in like the little pamphlets that are being
Correct.
timed. So.
Yep.
And don't touch the rock.
Yeah, no.
And then the concert series, the summer concert series, that was announced as well.
Yeah, so the dates are on the website,
Okay.
and we're getting that information out. So check out the Visit Leonardtown, and you'll be able to. Well, I mean, we'll be bringing more forward, but certainly a action-packed summer.
It's going to be exciting. Thank you, Michelle. That's it.
And it? Okay, thank you. Nick, Community Development and Planning?
All right, thank you, Mayor, but I actually don't have anything to report this month.
Okay. Hold on a second. Christie, Utilities?
I don't actually have anything to report. I have more of a question. I know, and I know in our report it says that on Route 5, the widening, that we're just waiting for the spring, but I've heard some rumbling that maybe the contractor had left again. Is that not true necessarily?
Well, they
information?
were stopped for a little while because of an insurance issue, but they're back.
Okay, good.
They got their bonding straight.
Oh, good.
Maybe that's what it
Okay.
was.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, there's still, issues that are being resolved, but the main thing now, hopefully they'll be ready to pave when the plants open back up
Right.
again and be able to get it finished.
Okay, good. Yeah, I said I'd check into it.
Yeah.
But I haven't heard anything. Very good, thank you.
Okay. Jay, Southern Maryland Municipal Association.
All right, thank you. On so January 11th, 2023, I attended the Southern Maryland Municipal Association chapter meeting that was in Annapolis. Had a fairly good turnout, and then afterwards we all went to the legislative reception in Annapolis. That was a really good turnout, good crowd for that. We did not have our Maryland Municipal League Board of Directors meeting in January, so we're going to have our April meeting, so that's on schedule. And as far as our next SMMA, I'll be honest with you, I'm not too sure. North Beach is working on that.
Okay.
So just wait to get some feedback from them on our next meeting.
Well, I've got the Maryland Mayors Association
That's right,
meeting this weekend,
Yep.
or Thursday and Friday. And I see you're on the agenda.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's supposed to be for Friday.
Answering the call, emergency response. Jay Mattingly.
Yay, Jay Mattingly.
Yep. So I'll see you up there.
Alrighty.
Okay. And Mary, Business Development and Retention.
So last week I was asked to testify in front of the legislature on small businesses and retirement. I did it over Zoom, which was not fantastic because for 2.5 hours I sat there on the Zoom call, and right as they say, "Oh, Mary Slade will be talking," all of a sudden it comes up and it goes, "Internet not working." And I was like, oh my God, all I can imagine is my face like in front of everybody with like all staticky. But miraculously it worked, other than me saying, "Can you hear me now?" Which I was like, oh my gosh, are you kidding? But I did think I would read to you today what I said. So, good afternoon. My name is Mary Slade, and my husband and I were both born and raised here in Southern Maryland. We both own businesses. He's an attorney, and I'm a tax accountant. Here in Maryland, we are raising our children here, and when you cut me, I bleed Old Bay. Based on the current laws, we will not retire here. Maryland discriminates against us small business owners. Both my husband and myself offer retirement plans to our employees. As small business owners, a regular 401k plan is too expensive and cost prohibitive for us to maintain. So we use the Simple IRA. It is one of the best plans out there for small business owners. It allows me to contribute to my employees' retirement accounts as well as to myself. In Maryland, the Simple IRA is listed as one of the types of plans that do not qualify for the pension exclusion, which for 2022 is $34,300. Anything listed as an IRA does not qualify for the pension exclusion. 99.5% of all businesses in Maryland are small businesses, most of whom use a type of IRA to save for retirement. If an employee leaves a company, even if their money is in a 401k, they are often forced to roll their funds into an IRA, thus making them ineligible. According to the Investment Company Institute, 36.7% of all Americans own IRAs. So we are excluding almost a third of the population by not allowing IRAs to qualify for these pension exclusions. In my practice, I see people who are leaving on a daily basis, going to states that are more friendly to retired people. Please give small businesses people a reason to retire in Maryland.
Good,
So-
very nice.
Just wanted to get that out there.
I
Okay.
love your humor at the beginning.
That's it. That's all I have.
Okay. Anybody else have anything for the good of the order? Okay, entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much.
Thank you.